there was an interview right before the Japanese Grand Prix, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm on finals, and final season. I don't know. I'm changing my dates because I'm kind of busy. Imagine he's 17 years old, worrying about his final test of algebra or whatever." And the next day or the next weekend, he's racing at 300 kilometers per hour in Japan. Oh my god! So
Okay.
whenever you put them in a car which is super sensitive, they just can't control it like
But that's
him.
kind of what I mean. Is like if you
Mhm.
have a car that only one person can drive, is it a good car?
Welcome to Turn 3, your pit stop for Formula One content. I'm Walter.
And I'm Edgar. Let's jump right in.
How have you been?
I've been good, man. It's
It's
been a
it's
while,
been
dude.
a while. It's been a while. We'll
Yeah.
be some of our fans, they've been asking about us. Where are we? Why are we so late into the party?
Yeah, for sure.
Life happens.
Yeah.
Life
And
happens.
it's not like we missed a very interesting last half season, whatever.
Maybe not the races, but it's Formula One, man. There's always drama.
Yeah.
Every weekend, there's always some new
Yeah.
drama.
No, I was just kidding, actually. Like it was a crazy time for us to stop making videos.
Mhm, but we're here now, and that's what
Here, and
matters.
that was important. And I see
Exactly.
you're wearing a hat.
Yes,
Also.
yes, and it's actually the 2024 Japanese Grand Prix with Sergio Perez. I don't know if it's over there.
Who's Sergio Perez? I don't
Uh
remember.
he's a legend, man. He's
He's a
a Mexican hero, It's written in the Imagine stories,
for sure.
that our savior Sergio Michelin Perez was gonna come to save
Yeah.
us.
And there's rumors of a second coming, right?
There's rumors,
Of a second coming
There's
Cadillac, maybe?
exactly. So it's really an exciting time for Formula One for sure.
Yeah.
Formula One fans. 2026 next year is gonna be a lot of the new different specs for the car, different rules, a new team into the grid. It's gonna be the first time in a while, I think, for 11 teams,
Yeah.
22 drivers in the same track. So it's gonna be really interesting, and I'm hoping, man. I'm really hoping. I'm praying every day that one of those drivers is Sergio Perez. But until it's announced, I'm not gonna get my hopes
Yeah.
up.
There is a lot of rumors, right? Like there's a lot of talks. In fact, and I think I saw there was an interview with him
Hmm.
saying like I'm gonna make an announcement soon, and it's people are gonna like the announcement.
Yeah.
So I, I'm with you. I'm hoping he makes a comeback. But in the meantime,
Yes.
and this year, he doesn't have a seat,
Yeah, yeah,
and
it
so
feels lonely. It feels
it does
lonely.
feel lonely. But I think so. We both sort of like made we declared ourselves Checo fans.
Mm.
The Turn Three podcast was a Checo fans, right?
That's
But
yeah,
I
one of
think he's not actually here this year, so I think it'd be fun to maybe pick a driver.
okay.
Do you want to go first, or do you want?
It's so hard, man. It's
Yeah, it's
really
really
hard.
hard.
I'm gonna support this year. I think I'm gonna support Lewis Hamilton. I actually I actually want him to win the eighth championship. I think
Yeah,
he deserves it. I think it's probably his cherry on what is one of the greatest, probably the GOAT of Formula One right now, and one of the greatest of all time. So I really want him to take a championship. I don't know if it's gonna be his year. Ferrari's it's fighting at the top, but not in first place yet. But we'll see.
but he did win the sprint,
He did with the sprint.
so not completely far
I
fetched.
actually I thought it was gonna take here a little bit more time to get used to the Ferrari car. It's been 11, 15 years. I don't know how many, more than a decade of years with Mercedes.
Yeah,
It's like you go from one car to another and you're expecting like, okay, it's gonna take a few races, like different buttons
yeah.
in my wheel.
There was even that like it was during was it the last race or the one
Yes.
before that there was
Yes.
something like press the K1 button. He's
Correct.
like I'm no,
I don't know where
I
it
don't know where it
is.
is. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and exactly. There's still some work to do with the communication and
sure.
practice, but it's normal. But like you said, he won sprint
Yeah,
race, so he knows a little bit about driving, I guess.
for sure.
Yes, yes. So that's where I think I'm gonna be
That's where your
supporting.
allegiances
I'm
are gonna be.
hoping for him. Again, right now it doesn't seem that way, but who knows? It's a long season.
Are we gonna see you wear some Hamilton
No,
hats
no,
or
you
something?
probably will see me always supporting
Check
Checo
out no
Perez,
matter
even
what.
if he's not in Formula One,
10 years
even
from
if
now.
he's playing like in a seven against seven soccer intramural match, I'll support that team. Doesn't matter.
That's awesome. I could tell you who I'm rooting
Yeah,
for this
yeah,
year.
yeah. Let me know. I'm excited.
Oscar Piastri.
That's a great choice, man.
Dude,
Great
I
choice.
have been very impressed with
I
Oscar. Obviously, I've been impressed with McLaren as a team, right? Um, we kind of talked about it like last season. We sort of took a break from making videos or whatever, and we're back at it. Um, and like right around the time we stopped making videos is almost the time that they started to come out of nowhere and just kind of start like winning races or at least getting really close to it. And it was very impressive to the. I mean, that they won last year's constructors championship, right?
Mhm.
And it's almost. I can't say it's a guarantee, but it's looking a lot like they're going to win this year's constructors. So I am excited to see what they do. I do kind of want like Piastri to. I think it's a really weird dynamic that they've got going on, right? Where papaya rules and all of that stuff. Like they're saying that they're not going to play favorites, and then all of a sudden, like they are playing favorites,
Mhm.
right? Like we
Mhm.
saw in that first race.
Yeah.
Um, they were within a second, and they said, no racing.
Yeah.
And then once there was a big enough gap, they go, okay, you can race, and like it almost seems unfair,
Yeah.
to Piastri. So, I do think that the dynamic would have to change a little bit before maybe he starts to win, or if he's not going to be the champion if his team isn't supporting it.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
So, but yeah, that's I'm all in. I'm
With
doing
Oscar.
Oscar.
What about Lando? Lando hasn't won any championship. He has won races, of course,
Yep.
Oscar too. But last year, Lando, when they won the constructor championship for the team, he said like next year is my year.
Yeah.
So what do you?
And that's kind of what that's what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Is so like we have McLaren, and I feel like they're supporting Lando, and I
Mm-hmm.
feel like it's probably the smartest thing to support Lando because I think um it's I think he's a more seasoned driver, and I
Mm-hmm.
think he's got the most experience, and I think it's just it makes sense to back him. But at the same time, I there's something about the way that Piastri drives that I really really admire.
Yeah.
I maybe we can start with like this race, right? So
Yeah.
Suzuka just happened.
Let's start with that.
Um, I kind of a boring race if
It
we're
was kind
honest.
of boring. It was not boring. It was uneventful, to be
Sure.
honest. It's like the way they started the race is pretty much the way that they finished the race. Pretty much,
Yeah.
I think there were like a couple of people that changed places, but it was pretty much the same start from end.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't think of anything that was like truly remarkable. Anything like worth noting.
Yeah.
But the reason I wanted to start the conversation for this
Mhm.
race
Mhm.
is there was a point in the race where Piastri sort of saying like, I have the pace, I can catch
Mhm.
Verstappen, right? Because Verstappen's one and he's in three, Lando's between them. And he's saying like, if Lando's not gonna catch up to him, I can do it. I
Mhm.
have the pace. And I don't know. I potentially,
You start asking questions,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, I
And and
know.
and then it didn't lead to anything, right? And then sorry, there's just a lot to talk about. I feel like it's we really actually
Yeah,
haven't spoken
yeah,
about this. Is
exactly, exactly.
um
We were saving it up
yeah.
till like, did you saw the race? He's like, yeah. What do you think? Like, no,
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 no, no.
don't tell me.
Save
Wait,
it.
wait.
Save it for the
Yeah,
podcast. Yeah.
correct.
Uh, uh sorry. They had McLaren. I feel they. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like they have a lot of like they really want to play it safe,
Mm-hmm.
and they want that constructors championship again, to the point almost where it's like putting the drivers in jeopardy of like again not winning the,
Yeah,
the drivers
yeah,
championship.
for sure. It's like you said, it's a little bit awkward because sometimes it's not the drivers, it's the team that put them into those situations where the team should be the one making the choice. And sometimes they want to keep both drivers happy and
Sure.
they don't want to hurt anyone's feeling. But this is a cutthroat sport.
Yeah.
Like that's how Red Bull plays it. They have one favorite and then the rest is just a team player,
Yep.
pretty much. And it has worked out the last whatever years with Max Verstappen, right? But
Sure.
And throughout history too, like there's always a number one driver and a number two driver most of the time in the teams.
Yeah,
And right now it's kind of hard because you're rooting for both of them. Like both deserve to be the first driver. Uh, and but the team hasn't made to me the team hasn't made that choice, and it creates those events, right? Events
right.
where it's like, okay, now what? Are they gonna fight each other and maybe crash and lose two of the drivers for that race and lose the points? Or like you're saying, they had the opportunity to let Oscar pass Lando, and if he has the pace, let him try. And if he doesn't pass Verstappen on the last lap, just let Lando pass again, and nothing happened, right? Like
Sure.
you get back to the same positions that
And
you were. None of them lose any points to the other.
sure.
Uh
And they did that last year, I think,
mhm,
in some of those races. Like they said, you know, like swap, and then if you can't,
correct.
and I forget what race it was, but I remember, you know, like Lando giving back the position back like one oh, it was the first race that Oscar
Mhm,
Piastri
mhm,
won.
correct.
And it almost felt like got cheated, right? Like
Yeah,
he didn't get to celebrate it because it was like, oh, it's I was handed this victory, right?
correct, correct. It
Um,
didn't feel as good as once is streaming his first win in Formula One
sure.
would be for sure.
Yeah. Now
Yeah.
you mentioned Red Bull, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
I think it's worth noting that there have been some changes.
Have they?
There
I
have been some
haven't heard
changes, yeah.
nothing about them. Nothing about musical chairs or
I,
nothing like that. No.
musical chairs,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's actually a pretty good way to describe it. Obviously, so Checo, right?
Yes.
Rest in peace.
Yes.
He's not with the team anymore, so
He's not dead,
no.
he's not in
He's
Formula One anymore. Just
yeah.
wanna let everybody know that, just so you know.
Yeah, that might have been the wrong
A little
gesture,
bit,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I
Anyways,
could
so they promote Liam Lawson
correct.
into his seat, right? Two races later, they said,
First of all, let's go back a little bit. They promote Liam Lawson, and that one to me was a little bit tricky because let's be honest, I think Tsunoda had seniority.
sure,
So, in my opinion, and he was showing that he was, I guess, probably the best choice. What he was doing last year with the RB, the second
the
team,
V
right?
Corp.
But for whatever reason, Red Bull decided to go with Lawson. To me, it was the wrong decision since the beginning, but okay. And then the two races happened, and he didn't show anything. And they promote Tsunoda this time. But then what happened again is kind of like the same old story with, and we have seen it before too. Before these two, we have seen it with Albon and Gasly when they were in the first team. So more than the drivers is probably the seat, the second Red Bull seat. It's some people say it's kind of like haunted, to be honest.
Yeah. I think it's just um eh, I don't know. It might be like a spicy opinion or like an
Hmm.
unpopular opinion, but for a long time they had the clearly the best car on the grid.
Yes.
And and then you had Checo getting second place or sometimes winning races, stuff like that, right? And then it gets to the point where like Checo can't get close to Max anymore. And Max is still winning races, and I guess that's kind of where the spicy opinion comes into play is like Max is he's a phenomenon, right?
Hmm.
Like he's so good at the sport that like it's almost like give him whatever car you want and he's gonna do great things in it.
Generational
Yeah.
talent.
So what I'm saying is maybe their car isn't as good as it was put or like made out to be
Hmm.
originally. It's just that Max is so good at it, right?
Yeah, yeah. Um, I don't know. I think I would agree with you that Max is once in a life talent for sure, a generational talent. I saw this interview with Alex Albon. I don't know exactly with who was the interview, but they asked him about his time with when he was a teammate with Max Verstappen, and he was trying to explain like, okay, like what's the reason, like why is no other driver can match Max Verstappen with that car. And he explained it in a way that to me was easy to understand, right? He was explaining it's like whenever you're playing Xbox or PlayStation or whatever console game with your controller, when you're playing in like a low sensitivity, like if you're playing Call of Duty and you're playing in low sensitivity, where it would be one on one, and then you change it to the highest sensitivity, which would be 2020. That's how Max Verstappen drives, pretty much.
Uh,
He's driving with the highest sensitivity, and he's able to control it. But any other driver is they're playing like in half the speed, pretty much.
sure.
So
Okay.
whenever you put them in a car which is super sensitive, they just can't control it like
But that's
him.
kind of what I mean is like, if you
Mhm.
have a car that only one person can drive, is it a good car? I mean,
It has worked for them, but maybe it's starting to show the cracks.
yeah,
Now the team is
that's
showing
fair.
like not only Max Verstappen. They made that car so specialty for Max that now any other driver is gonna be having a hard time driving if it's not Max Verstappen or maybe someone that they haven't found with the same driving style. But there's has been 5 drivers now, and none of them has been as successful as Max Verstappen. But again, it's because it's also Max Verstappen, right?
Sure. And do you think, in your opinion, was it a good move for Yuki? I'm not even asking about like from Red Bull's perspective.
Mhm.
From Yuki's perspective, is was it a good move to go to the Red Bull?
I think a lot of people are asking that question if it's worth it to if someone gives you the opportunity to go to the Red Bull car and you know it's gonna be hard and you're probably gonna fail, but that's what you want, man. That's all of the 20 drivers there want the opportunity to be in the best car, and that's probably top 3, top 4 best cars, and
Yeah,
it gives you the opportunity to be challenging for a win. The other cars, I'm sorry, they're not there. The car is not there. So even though it's probably you're not gonna even though you probably are not gonna be successful, you have to take the chance. That's what these guys have been dreaming his whole life. And it's like, here you go. This is your chance. Are you gonna take it, or are you afraid you're gonna make a mistake
yeah,
and drive it to the wall? And all of them take it because if you don't take it, it might not come again.
that's true. I so I think about like Yuki, and I think about the good stuff that he was doing at the
RB.
RB, the Cash App
The
Red
second
Bull,
Red Bull,
that
yeah.
second Red Bull team.
Yeah.
Um, the good things that he was doing there, and it sort of opened the door for other teams, other good teams like the Ferraris and the
Mhm.
Mercedes to be like, hey, Yuki's doing really good in that second Red Bull team. Maybe we should give him a shot in our team. And maybe that's sort of the gamble that he was sort of working with, right? Is either I take what's in front of me, which is the opportunity on the Red Bull, or do I keep going and then kind of hope for another seat in a different car that will also get me there? Because I mean, Mercedes is a good team.
Mhm.
Ferrari's still a good team. Uh, Aston Martin, I don't need anymore.
Maybe next year.
Maybe next year, yeah. Uh, with Adrian Newey, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Um, but that's kind of what I mean. Is like if he goes to Red Bull and he doesn't perform there, then that's what people are going to remember.
That's correct.
And so it's kind of a tough spot. But
It's hard, but again, it's also another thing we need to think about. They gave him the car at his home race, and that's an added pressure too, right? It's because he didn't have the the pre-testings that we had before the season started. Liam did all of that testing with the car. So he's coming with a brand new car. I was hoping he did good in his home race, but it was being more realistic wherever he was, 15, 16, wherever he finished. That's where he was supposed to be. He needs
yeah,
more practice with the car. He needs to get in top of the car. But yeah, yeah. Again, that second Red Bull series, it's
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 cursed.
it's cursed right now for sure. They need to figure it out. They need to call a curandero and put some holy water or something. I don't know, man.
Or they should just have Red Bull be one driver with Max,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like
You
one
know
driver,
what, Max? You're gonna go out. We're gonna do a lap. Gonna go down of the car, get to
change
another
cars.
other one, and do another lap. And I think it's gonna be better.
He's still gonna win.
It's still
Yeah.
gonna be better than the way that we're working right now.
Let's talk about a little bit about what you think about like McLaren's strategy.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
they had a they started second and third place,
Mm-hmm.
and they
Mm-hmm.
ended second and third place. It almost seems to me like that is just them not being um they so they could have done a lot of different things, right? Like they could one of the things that I read is why not why not hit Lando?
Mm-hmm.
and then have Piastri
Go
go
long.
longer,
Hmm.
and then
Because you force Max to pit to cover Lando.
to cover Lando.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. It just we had the information that we have. It's whatever we see on TV, right?
sure.
Whatever I don't know. We watch. I watch it on F1 TV. Whatever information they give me, that's what I have. The
Yeah,
teams have way more information that we have, so they're deciding all of these strategies even before the race starts. They have all of these different. What happens if it lap 45? There's a yellow flag. This is what we will do. So they have a lot of different outcomes, right? And they make the decisions according to those. But
got it.
again, sometimes you humans make those decisions and humans make mistakes, right? And yeah, I think they had more options to play around with, having the two drivers at the front fighting against Max. But I think Max Verstappen just showed that if you give him, if he takes the pole, even if you have a faster car, he's not gonna make you easier for you to pass him.
Got it.
And most likely with free air, that's what he had.
Hmm.
You're not gonna be able to catch him because you're in his dirty air. So he's gonna defend you. He's gonna cover you. He's
Yeah,
gonna make you slow down so you don't get a good exit out of the curve. So there's a reason why he's the three times world champion, right? So
yeah. Is it 3 or is it 4 now?
4-4. Sorry, I'm still in 2024.
Oh wait, no. So 21, 22,
24.
24.
Yeah, yeah,
What year are we? Yeah, 24. You're right.
24.
2 4 years. Yeah,
4 years.
in a
4.
row, man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
So I think two key moments at the race, in my opinion, it was the start that
yeah,
that for sure Max had a good start, Lando too, but Max just covered Lando.
yeah,
That's all he needed to do. Just stay ahead of him after the first corner, and after that it was pretty. Just keep him
yeah,
behind you, and then like you said at the pit stop, like whenever Piastri or Lando pitted, I guess Red Bull was more. Um, they,
they were slower, right? I
they
think.
were, yeah, a little bit more slower at the pit stop, but they were covering for Lando. They were not too much worried about Oscar
Got it.
because he was more third. They were more worried about Lando. But whenever Max pitted, Lando went right behind
Yeah,
him. It was a little bit slow, and then I think there was a little moment at the
yeah,
end of the pit stop. That was the second key moment, right?
yeah.
Because Lando was, I think he came in the radio after the fact, and he was saying like, "Oh, he pushed me out," and then Max was saying like he drove his
He
MVP.
drove himself off. Yeah,
Like my opinion, which no one is asking for, but is
That's why they're watching for
yeah,
our
right,
opinion.
right.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. So Max was in his line, and
yeah.
he had the space a little bit to the left, but he doesn't have to give it to him.
No,
It's like I'm in my line. It's up to you to move or not.
yeah,
So
yeah. I've always thought about like when you talk about what you mentioned, right? The line is like if I go forward, I still have track. If he continues forward in the same path, he doesn't have track. Like he didn't have it, right?
hmm
And so there might be some like Formula One is a very complicated sport, and there's a lot of different
hmm
rules.
hmm
There might be something that I'm not aware of, but as far as I know, like I don't think Max did nothing wrong, and it's just it's almost funny like to hear them come on the radio and be like he pushed me off, and from where we're sitting, it doesn't look that way.
Yeah, no, and they're playing also the game. They're playing the game because they know the world is listening to them. The world is watching. The referees are watching and they're listening to them. So they're putting their side of the story out there, so they know. But at the end of the day, we're watching nowadays. Formula One has so many different camera angles and
Yeah,
everything. So many microphones, so many sensors. Like there's so much information that the referees get to make those decisions, right? And we see them like, oh, there's it's been investigated or it has been noted and they're looking into it. At the end of the day, the referees didn't make any penalties or nothing. So it was according to them, it was Max who did everything up to the rules and it was okay.
yeah,
And that's all that matters. Anyone can have any opinion, but the only opinion that matters is the referees.
yeah, yeah. And really, that's what it is. It's
The
their job to
stewards, sorry,
regulate the
correct.
stewards. Yeah, it's their job to enforce
Make the decisions to
and to
enforce
make
the
the
rules.
decision. Yeah,
Yes. And one more thing I want to mention that we can discuss is the rookies. for
Oh yeah,
2026.
yeah. Let's
We
talk
haven't
about
talked
that.
about it because it's the first time we got together, right? But to me, Antonelli, first of all,
Wow,
amazing. Wow.
wow, dude.
17 years old.
I
He's it, There was an interview right before the Japanese Grand Prix, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm on finals, and final season. I don't know. I'm changing my dates because I'm kind of busy, so I don't know if my teachers are gonna allow me to change my dates." So it was kind of
Oh
funny, but
man,
imagine he's 17 years old worrying about his final test of algebra or whatever, and the next day or the next weekend, he's racing at 300 kilometers per hour in Japan. Oh my god.
I think that's so funny because like he probably has teachers that are like super fans of him or something,
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
watching, the
Of
his
course, you guys
races.
has a specialty case. Of course, I'm pretty sure the teachers are aware of that and help the situation, of
Yeah,
course. But he he's brand new to the sport, Formula One, right?
yeah,
He's been amazing as far as I know in the other categories, right? Um, and now he's showing it. He's up to he's like when Oscar came into Formula One, and he was impressive, man. He wasn't
yeah,
like super excited. He didn't show a lot of emotions, but he knows how to drive, and he knows how to drive good, and he's putting the results, and that's all that matters.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I had heard about Antonelli, and I heard how hard Toto was going for him, like the all the effort that was being put into getting him there, because there was also like he needed there was an exception that had to be made because he was younger,
Hmm.
um, a lot like they did with Max Verstappen, um, and there was a lot of like hype around Antonelli, and and then there was the naysayers, the cynical people saying like, "You're gonna see, he's gonna get in the car and he's just not gonna do it." And I, I
Where
I'm
are
very
where
impressed.
are they
Where are
now?
they now? Yeah, exactly. Where are they now?
Hmm.
It's a very impressive what he's been doing. I kind of I also like the relationship between like Russell and him. Like Russell, I feel like has stepped up a little bit. Um,
To being
like
the number one
to be the
driver
number
for
one driver.
Mercedes, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and I feel like I mean I don't know what the dynamic of the relationship is, but like that typically you'll have I'm sorry, George Russell be somewhere like he's 6,
Hmm.
and then Antonelli's like 7,
Yeah,
or I
yeah,
think whatever, however
yeah.
they ended up. Um, I I think that's really good. I think they've got a good team going, and I thinking about give them a few more maybe races or maybe a year or two,
Yeah.
and I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Antonelli, super impressed with him. Again, the other rookies, Jack Duham. I'm sorry, he's not been up to the task so far.
Yeah, but how much
We'll
can you put that on him, and how much?
you at least you have Gasly, which is not crashing.
True,
So
fair.
so yeah, yeah, yeah. He's making rookie mistakes. Of course, he's a rookie, but again, it's been really costly for the team so far. It's only been 3 races. We'll see what the future
Yeah,
expects. But there's already talks about like maybe they're gonna sit him down and bring Franco Colapinto, which he already showed what he can do last year. So we'll see. He's another rookie that it's on the fine line.
yeah,
It's it's Formula One, the results matter, and right now there's no results for him.
for
So
sure. Yeah, another one of the rookies, maybe I'm gonna pronounce it wrong, is Ajar.
a jar, a jar.
Points, right? Yesterday?
Yeah, super impressed again.
Yeah,
And the crazy thing is with the RB car, the second Red
yeah,
Bull car. It seems there's always Juki make points with that car. Hadjar has made point with that car. Liam Lawson did that with that car. It for sure it seems easier to drive, and it seems the drivers have the opportunity to make some points with it. But it's a weird dynamic for sure with Red Bull and both teams, and then they, they own the 4 seats, so they're being playing musical chairs around
yeah,
them, and it still hasn't worked out right. They know where Max Verstappen is, but they still haven't figured out the other three people and
where they where they belong,
where
basically.
do they belong and where is better for both teams for them for
Yeah, for
sure.
sure. Um, it's so funny to see Liam Lawson do better in the V carb yesterday, or
In
rather during the
qualis,
race.
yeah.
Right. than he did on the Red Bull in
Yeah.
a arguably a much better car.
One funny thing, it was like we said before, right? It was pretty uneventful race and all everything. But when I saw the qualifiers and when I was watching practice, everything, there was always a fire on the side of the road,
Yeah,
and there was no fire. I'm glad that there was no fire
the
at the
race.
race, but it's like what's happening? Like I wanted a fire maybe to make it a little bit more interesting. Maybe another pit stop. Maybe it changed something. But
Yeah,
yeah, I was
something.
out at some point. I was like kind of like snoozing off a little bit on the
Yeah,
race because
same.
of that.
There was talks about like rain potentially, and I'm like,
Correct.
here we go, man. This is gonna be awesome. But no,
Yeah, no,
not
no,
even
nothing
that.
like that. We were expecting. Yeah, yeah. I know drivers don't like that kind of stuff. They like to know what's gonna happen.
Sure.
But for us fans, like the
Unpredictability
the
and
unpredictability, we're rooting for the underdog.
yeah,
We love the underdog story. So yeah, yeah. We always want to see something different. But yeah, it was a good race. Not again uneventful, but pretty good. A lot of drama going on outside Formula One. Not so
yeah.
much in the race, but yeah, yeah. It was
It,
pretty good weekend.
lots to talk about, and I feel like this whole season is gonna be like this. Lots to talk about. So
It's just
that's
barely starting. We're
yeah.
in number 3, I think 24 races on this season,
Yep.
and yeah, a lot of drama. Also, like you said, McLaren super impressed. They're dominating now. I want to see who's gonna be the team like McLaren did that is gonna bring the upgrades and is gonna make that big change during the season.
Yeah.
Like maybe we're gonna see a Haas or an Alpine or something like really or Williams with Carlos Sainz like they're gonna start bringing the updates are gonna be stepping up. That's what I want to see. Like
Yeah.
just like McLaren did, they started super bad, and last year again constructor champions. This year again they look like the favorites for the constructor champions for
I
sure.
yeah, I'm almost certain they will.
Hmm.
Um, the driver championship though is the one that I'm excited to like. I
Hmm.
I hope one of them wins it. But just Max. I
Max,
mean, he
Team
showed us
Max.
yesterday or during the race. I keep saying yesterday, but it was like last night,
Yes, yes,
this morning, I guess. Yeah, Max is just being Max, and Max will continue to be Max, and so
correct.
it's not going to be easy. But I think if they make the right decisions as a team, and if I almost think that they need to just make that decision. They Lando is our guy, and we're gonna back
Hmm.
him.
Hmm.
Um, and maybe they're waiting until later in the season to sort of make that that assessment or
I
whatever.
think exactly, and then maybe that's why they didn't make the decision right now because they're thinking like it's a long season. There's no reason to do it right now. Like we don't really even know what's gonna happen in the future. But sometimes that's what happens. Like sometimes it's till the last race and it's 1 point difference, and maybe hopefully they don't look back and regret this race. And it's like maybe if we did that different that race on Japan, we could have won the driver championship and the
Yeah,
constructor championship.
yeah.
You don't know.
I mean, if they do lose it, it it it's probably better that it's by like over 100 points or whatever, like
Correct.
it used to be. But if they're right there,
You
that's when you have
always
these questions.
you always go back and think like, oh, if I didn't crash on Spain that one time, we had the enough points to win or whatever. But yeah, yeah, you go back and start thinking of all those little mistakes or those little points that you coulda or woulda,
Shoulda, coulda,
whatever.
woulda.
You coulda, woulda, you'da, woulda. Yes, sir.
You mentioned 24 races. The next one is Bahrain, I think.
Bahrain, I think I'm pretty sure. Yes, I'm excited.
Wanna predict a prediction?
It's so hard, man.
I
I think
know.
it's a street race, right?
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna give it to Max Verstappen. I'm gonna give you the podium, Max Verstappen. I think I'm gonna go with Lando Norris, and I'm gonna maybe change it a little bit. I'm gonna go Charles Leclerc P3.
Mm,
You know,
nice.
yes, yes.
Yeah. Um, in my heart of hearts, I want Piastri to win again. So I'm gonna say Piastri, first place. Um, I'm gonna shake things up a bit. Hamilton,
Hamilton, nice,
and
nice.
then Norris in third place.
Norris, okay, and no Verstappen on podium in
Uh,
Bahrain.
oh man,
That's what you're
like
saying.
I
That's what
know
you.
it's such a gamble, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I will remind you
If
that
you if
last
you don't
year
get it right, you lose $1 million. That is so think about it.
That's how much we're betting.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
I do kind of have to remind you that last year before we stopped making,
Yeah.
we took a break from making videos. I was like ahead by like 3 or 4 points
Yeah,
in
man.
predictions.
We're in 2025 now. Like
So
you cannot be stuck in the past, you know?
stuck in the past.
Yeah, yeah. No, for sure. I remember you were winning
Yeah,
the podiums, for sure.
yeah. The prediction.
Correct, correct.
Cool. Any closing remarks?
No, no, I'm glad to be back.
Oh man.
Again, thank you very much. I'm super glad to be doing this again, and we'll hope for the fun season, and we'll see what comes. Again, super excited of for the drama outside the races, the drama inside the races,
Yeah,
and hopefully for 2026 with Checo Perez on a Formula One team.
yeah. Hopefully,
That's what I'm praying. I always put my
right.
velita, turn on my
Yeah.
velita at night.
If and when the announcement comes in,
Mm.
I we need to do something special to commemorate it
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
right? Like
We'll,
on the
we'll we'll
show.
do it. We'll do it. We'll think about it. If you anyone has any idea, we what we can do if Checo Perez comes back to Formula One, let us know. Put it in the comments and we'll
I have an
discuss.
idea.
Uh,
If he comes back and he's going to Cadillac, you have to buy a Cadillac.
it sounds good. It sounds good.
In
I don't know.
theory, on paper.
Yeah, I don't know if my wallet could afford it, but let's say yes,
Okay.
and we'll wait for the announcement.
Okay.
Let's say yes, and we'll for that.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, man.
It could be an older Cadillac, probably
Maybe,
an
yeah.
older more.
From
Yeah,
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 exactly.
yeah.
I was gonna say a year. I can't even think like a 1970 something
It
or
doesn't
whatever.
matter as long as I'm supporting Checo.
That's it for us, guys. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you at the next race.